Hey guys, I'm IzDaisho and I'm here bringing you some magic, and today I'm going to be giving you the finals of my first recorded Dragon's Maze draft. This is actually, I think, the second one. Yeah, this is definitely the second one that I did. And this is the one where I got Ruric Thar, and I basically tried to build my deck around him, but ended up going more Golgari than Gruul in the end, and I'm just splashing for, I think, 4 red cards off of a key rune and a few mountains. But anyway, my opponent's going to get off to a pretty quick start in a Rakdos Cackler into a Thrill Kill Assassin, but you can really see how much it matters that I'm on the play here. So instead of taking basically an extra attack from each of these things, I'm able to stabilize by playing a Croconura. I mean, he can get in with, or no, not the Croconura, sorry. I'm just going to be able to threaten a Centaur's Herald activation into a Centaur, and then he just can't attack with his Rakdos Cackler anymore. So Rakdos Cackler being the ideal start for him on turn 1, it doesn't really end up helping him that much because it gets completely walled off by my team. I'm pretty lucky that he didn't have a Spike Jester turn 2. That would have meant that I would have gotten hit for 5 already, and I guess, I mean, that also wouldn't have been ideal, and I still would have ended up trading for my Centaur's Herald for his 2-drop, but he would have just basically gotten in for 3 instead. So I guess that wouldn't have been that much worse. But anyway, I'm going to trade that, and then I'm just going to play a Thrashing Moss Dog. So again, I just got a 3-3 that completely walls off his 2-2 and puts him in a position where he can't really do anything about it. So I had known that my opponent was a really aggressive deck because I had seen him play the previous match. One of his rounds took a really, really long time because his opponent was playing such a grindy deck, and he was able to keep the pressure on. So obviously he ended up winning that match because he is here in the finals playing against me. Anyway, he's going to drop a Syndicate Enforcer, which is not ideal for a deck like his, which is really aggressive, but it's a pretty decent way to get reach, and that's basically what everybody was thinking when the Exalted cards were printed, or at least what some people were thinking, which is that this could actually be a really good way for Rakdos to get some reach. And in the late game, once the stop signs have been put up, if they just need to get 3 or 4 more damage, or even 5 more damage in, if they can just extort their way out of the game, then that'll be advantageous for them. But I think I kind of I guess it wasn't a bad play. It was an interesting play, a really aggressive play, since I knew that my opponent was an aggressive deck, and that if the game went long, then I'd be able to win. So by attacking with the Thrashing Moss Dog here, I'm basically saying, alright, if you've got a trick or something like that, then you can attack in, and I won't be able to block, because I really don't want to lose my Crown Ceratok. I guess I could have just traded the Ceratok for the Syndicate Enforcer, but I felt like being aggressive here gives me a pretty good chance to win. Again, not really sure if that was 100% the best play. I think what ended up happening is I didn't really think it through, and then I kind of attacked, and then second main phase I was like, well, I guess I don't really want to play anything other than this this key rune. So I actually make another mistake here. I do attack in for 7, but trying to, I don't know, maybe bluff something by leaving up the green mana was just a terrible mistake. I could have left open the swamp. I knew that I wanted to play a spell here, or I wanted to leave open Augur Spree, and that's basically what I was going to cast. But if I had just left open Swamp Mountain, then my opponent might not have even been able to make the play he did here, because I would have just been able to threaten an activation of the key rune, and that would have just been way better than being able to Augur Spree something, because if I can activate my key rune, then I guess it does leave me open to something like Electrickery, which would put me in a bad spot after killing that, because then I wouldn't even be able to cast my Scab Clan Giant, which is the main reason why I played the key rune last turn, is to guarantee even if without drawing a land I would be able to cast a Giant. But anyway, he's going to play a Trader's Instinct here with Extort, so that'll take me down to 14, and he's going to take my Crown Ceratok, and he's going to be able to swing in for, I believe it is 11, and then that'll put me down to 3, which doesn't leave me in a great spot. Again, this wouldn't really have been able to happen if I had just left the swamp open, although he might have made the attack anyway, knowing that he would just lose his Syndicate Enforcer, but it definitely wasn't really exactly where I wanted to be. He can make this attack because even if I just turn around and attack him with everything, I can only take him down to 1 with my key rune, Ceratok, and Thrashing Moss Dog. But basically what happened is I got into the mindset that, alright, this key rune, all it's doing is going to help me cast this Crown Ceratok, and I didn't realize the fact that it could really help out by just Ooh, Scab Clench. Never mind. I didn't realize how much the Keyring could help out just by being able to activate it. And that's definitely where I went wrong. So I'm just gonna cast the Scab Clan Giant, destroy his Rakdos Cackler, because that's the only thing on his side of the board, and he's pretty dead. He has to draw something insane here to kill me. Like even an Explosive Impact doesn't do it, and I guess he could have had another Traitorous Instinct, and that would have done it. But outside of that, I'm not really sure what he could have possibly had. So he's going to play a Venusino Racketeer. He's trying to survive another turn, or basically just as long as possible. It's really hard to survive on this board because I do have the Key Rune, and my Ceratok has Trample, so you can't even chump block that. So even if he was able to make 2 chump blockers, or actually he would need 3 chump blockers, or 2, one of them being a Dagger Drum Imp, having lifelink. But even that wouldn't work because he would have to chump block the Ceratok, which would then trample over, if that makes any sense. I don't know. But basically, there was really no way for him to come back here. And that's just unfortunate. But, I mean, that's kind of what my deck wanted to do. It wanted to make sure that he didn't beat me too badly early. And then if we got to this position in the late game, then I'm at a pretty good spot. Anyway, he's just going to play a Tavern Swindler and a Death's Approach. So this basically keeps him alive as long as I don't remember to activate my Key Rune, which is reasonable because I haven't remembered to leave mana up for it or to do it yet anyway. So he just basically wanted to see if I would remember to do it. In the end, I think I drew a launch party there, so it wouldn't have mattered either way. There's just like no way that I can actually lose this game as long as I just make an attack, especially since he's tapped out. I didn't even do the math, but I was about to, and I was like, okay, well, I guess he's dead. So anyway, there we go. That's game 1 in the books, and let's move on to game 2. So obviously he's going to be on the play here, and that puts him in a much better spot because he has a lot of aggressive starts. Luckily for me, he doesn't start off with a Rakdos Cackler, and he doesn't follow up with the Spike Gesture, but he does have a Thrill Kill Assassin on too, so that's no fun. I don't really want to have to deal with that, especially since it's going to be able to get in a bunch before I can even do anything about it. So I mean, I guess he gets in 2, and then next turn, if I wanted to, I can just sacrifice my Centaur's Herald and trade just like I did last time. But instead, I think I just play a Croconura because I don't want him to, or because I want to get the Evolve trigger off of the Centaur entering the battlefield. So this does mean he gets to hit me for another time, and maybe it wasn't worth it, but I do have a Miming Slime in hand, so just trading with the Centaur might not be that good because then I might just be stranded with the Miming Slime without it being strong enough. I basically like, if I can, I would like to cast a Miming Slime for 3 or more every time, but obviously that's not always going to happen. Anyway, he's going to play a Carnage Gladiator here, and that card is just ridiculously powerful. And if I let it survive, then I'm just going to be in terrible shape. So luckily, I didn't trade off my Centaur because I did have this launch party. And, I mean, while I do lose some value in the fact that I 2-for-1 myself, Centaur's Herald, I hadn't paid all the mana for it, so it was more like discard a card and kill a creature instead of like sacrifice a creature and kill a creature, if you know what I'm talking about. Because I definitely lost the card out of it, but I didn't lose the tempo out of it by playing Launch Party, which can sometimes happen. I mean, sometimes Launch Party just really works out because they were going to kill your spell anyway, and then it becomes like a 2-for-2, but you're in much better shape than they are. But in this situation, it was okay at best. I don't know. Anyway, luckily I do have a Thrashing Moss Dog, which will evolve my Croconura, make it a 2-4, and basically prevent him from swinging in with that Enforcer. He would just straight up lose it unless he's got something in hand. Even if he does have a Pump Spell or something like that, then he has to be wary of the fact that I could have Giant Growth because I left up 1 green. But anyway, he's just going to attack with that Thrill Kill Assassin, and man, that card is good. It's just trading with my 4-drop. It's not exactly trading since I do have Scavenge on that thing, but yeah, anyway, I did lose a reach creature there, which is a little bit unfortunate, and I don't know, I mean, I guess it's not so bad because I do have Croconura, so I guess I'm not really in such bad shape. But anyway, right here I'm just going to play a Centaur's Herald. That leaves me with 5 mana, and the spells I have in hand are Miming Slime and Augur Spree. I can't cast the Augur Spree since I don't have any red, and it doesn't make any sense to cast Miming Slime here because it would just be for a 2-2, whereas if I just waited until next turn, it would be for a 3-3. I could attack here and then just basically trade, or not even trade, yeah. I guess it was pretty much a free attack. That was Oh, no, sorry, that wasn't free attack, because I want to be able to block his Rakdos Drake, sorry. Um, I had thought of that in the game, I just forgot it just now, but yeah, if we were in a situation where that Rakdos Drake was unblockable, then basically it would be free attack, since I'm going to dedicate my mana to Centaur's Heralding anyway, and I could have just chump blocked and then sacrificed it, so either way, doesn't really matter, but it definitely was the right play to hold back because he's got that Rakdos Drake. So after thinking for a little bit, my opponent is going to make a pretty interesting play. And if I was actually paying more attention to the game, I could have figured out what was about to happen, but I still think I would have made the same play. So he's going to put a Deviant Glee on his Rakdos Drake, and he's going to attack. And basically what this is doing is it's making a 4/4, but I'm going to have a 3/5 Croconura, so it doesn't make any sense to attack by itself. But you can notice that he didn't extort off of his Deviant Glee, which he could have, but he chose not to. So that means that he's got to have another black spell to play. If it were, or he could either have that, or he could know that I'm going to block and then have like a Weapon Surge or something that he's just going to extort later on in the turn. But basically, the more likely scenario is that he has a black spell to cast, and he's just gonna do it post combat. But he's got a stab wound, so I mean, trading my Croconura for 4 damage plus a stab wound is really fine for me. Honestly, if he had just put it on first main phase, that might have been a little better for him, because he would have been able to pump with Deviant Glee and get in, because if I don't block, then I take 4 plus I take 2 from the stab wound, and he could not pump, I didn't mean that, I meant he could trample over for an extra damage. So that might have been like a slightly better play, but right here is where the game goes really wrong for me. I don't think I was going to win this game anyway, but I just make a terrible mistake. The reason why I say so is attacking there and being aggressive is interesting, because I'm putting myself in a, like, it's really hard for me to win this game anyway, from where I am right now, because he has a 4/4 flyer and I'm only at 13, and he's also got an extorter on board. But doing this basically means that if he's got a spell, then he can kill me in 2 turns, or if he's got 2 spells rather, because all he has to do is extort. And then once he plays the Dagger Drum Imp, I'm in terrible shape. But if I hadn't attacked there, then he wouldn't have been able to attack with his Syndicate Enforcer, and it would have bought me an extra turn for me to draw Augur Spree. Also, conceding there was probably really wrong. There's no point in not waiting the turn out and seeing what he's going to do, especially if I play something like Miming Slime. Then maybe he can, you never know what can happen. You never know what kind of spell your opponent's going to put you on, and it might just cause him to lose the game, or like not attack with his Rakdos Drake and give me another turn to find my red source for my Augur Spree and actually give me a chance to win that game. So anyway, I get pretty lucky. I mean, I start off with a hand with only swamps and mountains. I did have a couple of black spells, or at least one, so that's not so bad. But normally I wouldn't make this trade, the 1-drop for the 3-drop Sewer Shambler, especially in this matchup where he has swamps and my Sewer Shambler is basically unblockable. But since I haven't drawn my green yet, and I know I don't really have any other spells, I need to mitigate the damage that he's going to be doing to me throughout the game. So just trading my Sewer Shambler off there is fine, and especially since I'm going to be able to scavenge onto it with it later. So he's going to offer me the same trade here, but now I think that I'm in a better position since I did draw the forest, so I think I will be able to eventually trade up, basically. Anyway, he's going to play his Carnage Gladiator again, and luckily I have the answer. This time it puts me in a much better position since I don't have to I don't have to launch party sacrifice my Scorpion. That would have been really annoying, but actually I do have a Centaur's Herald, so I would have just been able to do that instead. But yeah, I got the Augur Spree and I have the red mana, so I'm going to be able to get rid of that Carnage Gladiator right away, and I am putting myself in a much better position than I was last time. So now he's got a Tavern Swindler still. It's beaten in for 4 damage, so it definitely got its work done. I could have traded for the Scorpion right away, but again, I really am not as worried about my life total as I was a couple of turns ago. Anyway, he's going to play a Dark Revenant here, which is going to be a 2/2 flyer. If it ever dies, it goes on the top of his library. It's a pretty interesting card. I really don't think it's very good. My opponent says it worked out for him. He's got a couple of different ways to pump his creatures between like Civic Saber and Deviant Glee, stuff like that. Anyway, I'm just going to slam a Ruric Thar, and I kind of wanted to do that the entire draft. I think that I had played it in at least one other game. Yeah, in the first round I played it, but I hadn't played it since then, and man, this card is sweet. And my opponent, for a second, doesn't even realize that it has reach. That's one of the things that people don't really think. It doesn't seem like it should have reach. It should have, like, vigilance and trample. So he almost attacked with his Dark Revenant, but then he's like, yeah, you know what? I think we're going to stay back here. It would have been pretty awesome to actually get in with, or to just get him with that, especially since it would take away his next draw, and it would put him in an awful position. But unfortunately for me, he has a really good answer to Ruric Thar here, which is so ridiculous that my legendary 6-drop rare is going to be countered by his 2-drop uncommon, which is a 1/2 death touch. And since Ruric Thar has to attack each turn, I really can't do anything about it. So I guess I do have the decision here if I want to play my Miming Slime before combat, and that would make it ridiculously powerful. But yeah, anyway, I make a really, maybe not really bad play here, but I think I make a bad play. I could have scavenged my Sewer Shambler onto my Sluiceway Scorpion and attacked with both. He has to block my Ruric Thar with his Thrill Kill Assassin, otherwise he's just going to die. And if he wants to trade both his Tavern Swindler and his Dark Revenant for my Sluiceway Scorpion plus Sewer Shambler counters, that's fine with me, because then he has to put the Dark Revenant back on top of his library and uses his next turn to cast that again, and it puts him in a much worse position. So I think that probably should have been the play and would have basically all but sealed up my victory, especially since I have Battering Krasis to play afterwards. I guess I wouldn't have been able to evolve it here with a 3/3, assuming he did make that block, but I don't think he would have even made that block. I think he would have just taken the damage. Anyway, he's going to get in for some damage here. Obviously, that Dark Revenant is not going to be doing any attack or any blocking, and he's just going to play a Bomber Core, so not very threatening, especially since I'm about to put a ton of power onto the board. That's 6, plus I'm about to play a Miming Slime to get a 3/3, and then that will evolve my Battering Krasis again to a 4/3, and then beat in for 7 damage here, which is really just way more than you would oh, actually even more than that. Sorry, I forgot that I did this. This was really cool. One of the reasons why I think Bombing Slime was so much better in my deck than I thought it would be is because of these scavenge creatures that I had. So I was able to scavenge onto my Centaur and then make a 5/5. And I wish I had actually counted to make sure that my opponent wouldn't be able to kill me if he had Trader's Instincted my token. But I didn't do that kind of processing in my head, and I really should have. I forget to evolve the Battering Krasis, but I remember on my next turn, and my opponent allows me to take that back, or to add in the evolution, because this isn't really a extremely competitive event. This is just more of a draft for fun. So anyway, I'm going to beat in for 5, and plus the Battering Krasis should be 4, so that would be 9, take him down to 7, and after thinking for a really long time, my opponent decides that there's nothing he can do. He had a Trader's Instinct in hand. Even if he blocked, his Dark Revenant would go back in the top of his library and he would lose the next turn. But yeah, the Trader's Instinct would be 7, 8, 9 with the Dark Revenant, 10 with the Bomber Core, and then 11 with the Bomber Core's trigger. But yeah, the Dark Revenant would go right back on top of his library, and he'd be able to kill, and I'd be able to kill him the next turn. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that draft. I was really excited about winning, and it was a really fun draft and an awesome deck. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and have a wonderful day. Bye.